All right, today we are going to be talking about ratios and proportions. And we're going to be talking about how to find equivalent ratios to create proportions. All right, we do have three vocabulary words today. Our first vocabulary word is ratio, which is a comparison of two quantities by division, which basically usually means a fraction if we're talking about division. Then we're going to be talking about equivalent ratios, which are ratios that name the same comparison, which you guys know that because equivalent just means equal. And lastly, we're going to be talking about proportions, which is an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent. Remember that. Proportion just basically means equal. Okay? So let's take a look at our next slide. It says reading math. It says ratios can be written in several different ways. We can use the word to. We could use a colon, or we could also use a fraction bar. Okay? And in fact, on your homework, it's going to ask you to write it all three ways. So you need to be sure and write it all three ways. But they all mean the same. Fairly simple to write them that way. All right, let me calibrate my board real quick. Then we can move on to our examples. All right, let's take a look at our next slide here. It says find two ratios that are equivalent to the given ratio. Now remember, equivalent right here just means equal. Okay, so we're looking for two fractions that equal 4 over 15. So we can do that a couple different ways. We can typically either multiply or divide, which on this one, we could multiply both the 4 and the 15, say, by 2. Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8. 15 times 2 is 30. So 8 over 30 would be an equivalent ratio. Okay, we could also say we could multiply it times maybe 10. Well, for right here, times 10 and 15 times 10 would give us 40 over 150. Again, both of those are equivalent ratios. Okay, so let's take a look at our next one. The next one, we'll do the same thing. Okay, again, I typically start with multiplying them times 2 or 10 because those are the easiest ones, but you can multiply them times any number that you want. You could also divide them by any number that you want, but there's no number that goes into 8 and 21 evenly. So we'll just multiply, which will give us, what, 16 over 42. Then I'll multiply it times 10, which would give me 80 over 210. Again, both of those fractions are equivalent. Okay, great. Let's take a look at our next portion here, number 3 and 4. It says, tell whether the ratios form a proportion. Now remember, this word proportion just means equals. So what it's asking us is, do these fractions equal each other? Okay, that is what it's asking us. Do these fractions equal each other? Well, let's look at it. We know that 10 times 2 is 20, 16 times 2 is 32, so for that one our answer would be yes. But you could also use your butterfly method. Remember, we could use cross products, cross multiply. 10 times 32 is 320. 16 times 20 is also 320. Obviously, 320 and 320 equal, they equal each other. So for that one, our answer is going to be yes. It's that simple. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is a little bit more difficult because we can't just see it, okay? Meaning that we could ask ourselves, well, what number times 24 equals 18? Well, it's going to be a decimal answer, but we could cross-multiply these guys to see if they equal each other. Now, 24 times 28 gives us 672. I guess it would help if I wrote a number right. And then 36 times 18 is 648. So 648 equals 672? No. let's see what we have on our next one here. Oh, that was our last one. Those are all the examples that we have. Your homework this evening is pretty simple. I think that you'll do fine.